All right, welcome everyone to our very special call with our special guest tonight, Dr. Fred Templeman. It's been 21 years that I've actually met this man, and I met him because we were brought together mutually through this amazing botanical called the Mangosteen. And he started studying it as a favor for family, friends, owners of this company. And what he learned just astounded him. He used it in his practice. He got incredible results. He's been a practicing family physician for decades and decades, but retired in that in order to help people understand the power of using botanicals to replace oftentimes things that modern medicine might prescribe a drug for. And maybe sometimes you need them and sometimes you don't, but sometimes you don't know that there are powerful things that nature gave us that can actually help us live the most optimal, healthy life possible. So with that, Doc, I would love for you just to start off this call by introducing yourself a little and then tell us about this mangosteen and why is it so special?
Well, Collie, as you suggested, I started looking at it at the request of a relative, frankly, but it wasn't the first botanical that I had been using. I had a family practice in Georgia, which at a time when it was unusual for doctors to be using botanicals, meaning things derived from nature along with drugs. And the term that everybody used back then was holistic. And so I was a holistic practitioner, and I was really kind of converted to the idea of using other things besides drugs from the nastiness that I observed when I was using drugs, which are largely, when you're a non-surgeon, those are largely all that you really have to help the patients who come to you with a variety of problems. But as soon as you've got 3 drugs on board, then the odds say that you have one drug-drug reaction. In other words, you may be getting benefits from your drugs, but there is no question that you're going to be getting adverse effects from the drugs as well. And the reason why I became so terribly interested in it is that I had a 28-year-old patient who died. He died for only a few minutes, and we got him back because he happened to be in the hospital. But that really made me ask some serious questions, and the drugs involved were antidepressants. And he had been to an inpatient facility at a larger hospital where they actually had a psychiatric ward. And there the doctors put him on 3 times the normal upper limit of some of these drugs. Well, I've still got a call going on here. I'm just going to put that off for a moment. Well, no, I'm not. It's going to be there for all the time. I mean, anyway, so I began to become very much more interested in seeing if there weren't safer things that could have similar effects. And I found that there were. In fact, at the high point of my usage of botanicals, when I was eyeballs deep, I guess you might say, in the use of the mangosteen, I actually replaced 17 drugs that I would normally prescribe and that I had prescribed for years with this one product, which was so versatile across the organ systems of the body that it was something that I would use very early on in my practice with people who had had any kind of problem in the past with drugs. And I found that I was convinced, primarily by the mangosteen. There are certain other wonderful botanicals out there that I did use and that I still recommend, but nothing quite like the mangosteen in the sense that it has at least 5. Now, the overarching title for things which are in plants, which benefit humans, is polyphenols. And there are families of not drugs, but families of nutrients underneath the polyphenol umbrella, which are extremely useful. But most of the botanicals that are out there really only have one class that is preeminent in the product itself. And so it was extremely unusual that we had, like I said, 5 major families of these nutrients, including what we call micronutrients, vitamins and minerals. There are real good supplies of 3 or 4 both minerals and vitamins in the plant. And that was unusual, so much so that my partner at the time was a professor at the University of Utah, and he was actually enumerating some of the effects that he had taken out of the research that existed up until that time for the mangosteen. And he is the one who coined this phrase, which everybody jumped on the bandwagon and began to use. He called it a superfruit. And the reason that it was a superfruit, or that it still is, and I think probably the only superfruit, everything else has been dumped into that rubric, but it really is not justifiable for the vast majority of things which are called superfruits. But mangosteen is a superfruit in the sense that it will supply the body with raw materials to look after problems full across the organ spectrum of the body. So all of the organ systems of the body will have dysfunction from time to time, which is primarily the result of deficiencies in things that raw materials that the body needs. Because as a rule of thumb, if you give the body everything that it requires in appropriate amounts, it's going to do a job for you full throughout your life. There will be some changes as you age, and some of these changes are inevitable, really. But for the most part, your body's going to do its job until the last breath. And if you provide for it the raw materials, then you're going to be in good health. And I believe that firmly. I've seen it, watched it over decades now with various of my patients, and have seen that those who pay attention to diet, who give appropriate attention to exercise, and then who supplement, they are head and shoulders above other people their own age who largely have lifestyle diseases that are going to take them away much earlier than need be the case. So that's the mangosteen. I've never seen anything that I consider to be its equal to the present time. And I'm looking backwards with approximately 23 years of experience. And I have visited pretty much every country where the mangosteen is grown. It varies in quality and size depending on where it is grown. But every place that it is grown and is used not only for the white tasty fruit that is inside it, that is the reason why most people grow it, but there are numerous traditional medical paradigms around the world which have been using the mangosteen for literally centuries. And it has gained the notable quality of being so safe that there just aren't serious, nasty side effects with the products that are derived from the mangosteen. And the use by millions of people over generations of time is the absolute proof, much better than a randomized controlled double-blind trial, which is considered to be the gold standard in determining what is good. But this is the trial of history, and thousands, if not millions of people have been using, purchasing, buying, trading the mangosteen for the health benefits that it has. And now we have it here. And some people still haven't heard of it, but the last time I looked, there were 47 different mangosteen products being advertised on the internet. And that is derived from one single product, which came on the market in 2002. So that's the background.
That is absolutely amazing. And you brought up a couple things that I wanted to ask you. So, wow, 47 mangosteen products right now on the market. So with all these mangosteen products on the market, number one, like we haven't really heard about it much in the US until lately. And now we're starting to see some of these products hit, but with all the products out there, why is xanthomas so special? Tell us about what xanthomas is.
It's a first to market. When you are in the business of making your living from using and selling supplements, then it's very important to be watching the developments that come, in this case, through science, that would allow you to have a superior product. And of those products out there, I'm not aware of any, nor were any in that list that I went through the other day, that make use of the fact that we can now prepare outside the body things from nature and make them so small that they can literally cross the mucous membranes of the mouth, the throat, and the rest of the body, and go immediately into the bloodstream in quantities that are just not possible. So most people are used to looking at supplements that are measured in milligrams. And a milligram, if you compare it to a nanogram, is kind of like a mountain to a molehill. It's really very huge. And as a result, milligram doses taken orally of any whatsoever supplement that is based on botanicals will not be more absorbed than 5 to 8%, depending on the individual preparation. And it just doesn't happen. Whereas if you use the advance of this general purpose technology, and by general purpose technology, I mean that nanotechnology is going to change the way human beings do everything. And if you need a comparison, some of the older general purpose technologies were the steam engine, which brought about the Industrial Revolution, electricity, which doesn't need any explanation, the airplane, and the most recent one, which everyone is familiar with, was the development of the computer. And the computer has changed the way we do everything. And the ability to take products, whether they are manufactured or whether they are natural, and be able to render them to tiny dimensions by nanotechnology. This is a general purpose technology that is being used in every domain of science at the present time. So if you are looking for something that is new and different, this is it. There are no other products out there that I'm aware of that are commercially available at the present time that you make use of this nanotechnology. Now, I tried to convince a company a long time ago they should have done it back in 2007, but it was new, and early adoption is sometimes a wonderful opportunity, and other times it's precarious. And they chose not to go forward with it. I think they should have, but now CFTO is going forward with it, CTFO rather. And it is important for us to realize the advantages that gives their mangosteen product over everything else, literally, that is in the marketplace out there using the mangosteen.
So that's awesome. And I wanted to kind of talk about that for just a second because it's something new to market. So the mangosteen's actually been around for thousands of years, more than that, but we know at least that through documentation, hundreds of years through, history that we've seen, but only less than dozens of years here in the United States, since the fruit's not really from here, and it was kind of just brought to market a little over 20 years ago, the first time that I knew of, But now you said 40 some, but we've got this new technology. So now we've got this incredible botanical that does more than anything else than any other fruit. I've been a fan for 21 years. Never even considered marketing anything other than a mangosteen product. And I've said that for over 20 some years. And, you know, you and I and many of the people on this call helped bring mangosteen to market, and boy, did billions of dollars in sales. But now so it's the new technology. It's the new thing that we're bringing to market. And I feel like in the next few years, we're going to have just incredible results, not just in personal stories, but also in financial stories for people who want to be a part of helping to bring this new thing to market. But, you know, none of it would matter financially. I don't do anything financially unless there's a greater cause, and I know we share that.
Yes. I mean, I am not a distributor, and so therefore my interest in this is purely from the medical aspect and the scientific aspect. And being able to see something that makes such a difference in folks who are having problems across the medical spectrum, being available, safe, and relatively inexpensive, I think that is really a tremendous step forward. Now, I would say something about it because I heard a whisper during the past week that people were expressing, some people who are being threatened, perhaps by the arrival of this product. They may have a competing product, I don't know. But the fact is that they were making suggestions that the manufacturing process was literally destroying the nutritional benefits of this. And I'd just like to talk about how it is manufactured. I have made a recommendation to the company that I think it would be worthwhile for them to make a little 5 to 7 minute video showing the steps of the actual process so that people will be able to see it. But what happens is that the raw material from which the xanthone mist, and by the way, all of the other xanthone products, with the exception of the fruit itself, are drawn, is a freeze-dried compound that has already been pulverized to a milligram dimension. And it is dry and red, and it contains everything that's in it because the process is literally one of taking away the water and crushing it up. So there's nothing that is being destroyed in that process that would be beneficial. And then the process is carries on in its second step by going through 2 separate processes where solvents, not terrible solvents, not bad solvents, they've been used for years and years. One of them's water, the other one's alcohol. And those 2 solvents will then be used to extract from the powder everything that can be dissolved. And because they will both look after elements that are difficult to get out, things that are lipid soluble, meaning soluble in fat, and things that are water soluble, you need different processes for that. But both processes are present. And by the way, the processes do not involve tremendous heat and the destruction of anything at all that would be natural in the product. And when it's finished, what is left is a kind of a goop that really is all of the fiber. And fiber by itself is a good thing. But when you're trying to make a mist that is going to go across a membrane, it is sine qua non. You cannot have fiber in the material. So everything is extracted out, and then it is processed into goes through a nano-sizing process. And in this particular case, these are miniature bubbles that are created by a stirring stick that goes many thousands of times a second. And these bubbles then break up the material down to the point that it falls completely within the nanoscale. And I know that the suggestion has been that everything gets destroyed. That's not the case, not at all. And we know and have identified more than 50 different classes of nutrients that are in this. The company, at my request, is proceeding at the present time with an identification process that will allow them to know exactly how much of each of the xanthones, for example. And there are more than, it depends on where you look. Some databases say 70, others say 60. When we started a long time ago, there were only 40 xanthones, but there are now over 60 at least that have been identified. Now, all those have not been studied for their effects in health, but a large number of them have. And I have pointed out to the company, that's been part of my work with them, which of the xanthones they should be looking at, because the science has identified benefits for those particular xanthones. And so we're in the process of doing that right now. But let me quickly chop the head off the snake that says that things are being destroyed in this process. They are not. It is chock full with things that we don't completely yet understand how they will be working in the body. Let me give you an example that surprised me. The commonest reported benefit for this product is very different than the commonest reported benefits for other products. It is an improvement in sleep. Now, after what you eat, in other words, after diet, sleep is the single most important element that determines health and longevity. So don't sleep and you are at great risk, or have disrupted sleep, or have sleep that is poor quality, and you are unable to overcome that with good nutrition. It's just one of the basics. And it is, unfortunately, in our society, not so much in other underdeveloped societies, but in the developed societies of the world, sleeplessness or insomnia or the various forms of sleep disorders are just multiple. And many people have been seeking for a long time to find something that will make a difference. And this product has already stirred up, from people who have used it, all kinds of testimonials about them having a much better quality of sleep than they've had in the past. And like I've mentioned, you can't have something that is more important than that. And that surprised me. I am currently analyzing the data. I talked with 2 people today, and over the past week, I've talked with 6 others who have this result. And I'm trying to go deeper into why it would be happening, because it is not easy for me to understand the things that I know about the xanthones and tying it to sleep, because to my knowledge, there are no studies whatsoever about the mangosteen xanthones or other elements in the mangosteen and sleep disturbances. So I can't lean on the science for it, but I certainly can talk to people who have lived the experience of being able to have healthful sleep when they didn't before. And so, like I said, I'm surprised. 20 years of experience with it, and that was certainly not high on the list of things that people listed as benefits. So I'm surprised to see that it is surpassing, for example, the anti-inflammatory effect that results in people who have muscle pain and difficulties with pain. It actually is more common than that. Now, part of it may well be that individuals who had pain that they've lived with for quite a long time has had disrupted sleep as a result of the pain. But the fact is that we still haven't nailed it down. But that's part of the work that I'm doing for the company, is to try and analyze this data that's coming in from the field to indicate it. And it's one of the things that has surprised me.
That's awesome. I would love you to share just a tiny bit more about that, because the results that people are getting, because we've seen so many amazing long-term results from Mangosteen, but I've been blown away by how quickly people are getting some results that they're getting right now. And some of the results they're getting, like the eyesight and stuff. And I just wondered if you could kind of maybe give just an overview of maybe 5 or 10 things that you think people might notice that a lot of people are reporting right now.
Well, let's go full through the organ systems. So if you're looking at whether you're looking at skin, whether you're looking at circulation, whether you're looking at breathing and the lungs, etc., whether you're looking at the central nervous system or the peripheral nervous system with pain or with issues of anxiety, depression, etc., we cannot talk about this as if it were a treatment, because that kind of evidence doesn't exist. But what we can see is that when you take it in the quantities that are being recommended, now I've seen some results at higher quantities and some results at even lower quantities. So it's rather arbitrary to decide how much would be the absolute best, and individuals probably will experiment to find out what suits them most. Now, I will tell you that in order to use myself, and I've asked a couple of other people, including colleague, to take it at 5 times the recommended dosage for a significant period of time. I did that for a month with no adverse effects whatsoever. So it kind of let me feel very careful, it made very comfortable about the fact that I don't think there are going to be serious adverse side effects from this preparation. And it looks like the body is able to use it to do everything that it has used any other preparation of the mangosteen to do in the past. So I'm thrilled about it, and it goes completely across the spectrum. But I'm not going to go out and mention diseases because that's not permitted. We just don't have the ability to provide the kind of evidence through experimental process. It's too expensive and not necessary in my mind. So we can't make claims. We can't talk about various diseases. Insomnia is a state. I don't think it's necessarily a disease, but it is a state of well-being. And I guess we could say that it looks like the mangosteen in this preparation is supportive of the healthy ability of the body to get the rest it needs with the quantity and the quality that is necessary for good health. More than that, we can't say. And I don't want to go on and talk about the other things, but you yourself know what your story is about your eyes. And I happen to have my eyes examined as I do every year because I have diabetes and I need to be very careful of some of the changes that can take place. And by the way, in the time that I've been a diabetic, I've always used the mangosteen, and I have perfect eyesight. And so I actually saw a diminution in the acuity for the lenses that I'm currently using. In other words, after my last exam, I got a prescription. I haven't fulfilled it yet, but it is for glasses that are not as strong as the ones that I have. And that's unusual as you age. That normally doesn't happen. Again, I can't say whether it is this, but when you have a number of people who have coinciding stories of similar effects, then it's worth looking there. But we certainly can't conclude with the evidence that we have that there's a direct effect on eyesight as a result of using the product.
I agree with that, but yes, the stories are rolling in for sure. There's been amazing ones. I see several of them in the chat as well. So wonderful stuff. Share your stories. And for those of you who are still joining us, if you'd like to share a story that you have at the end of, if we do have time, we usually call on at least 1 or 2, if we have time, stories for you to share your personal experience with us, just raise your hand. You can do that at the bottom of the video. You can also, if it's not there, click on the more with the 3 little dots. And if you'd like to ask a question, make sure you do ask a question so that Doc and I see it. and don't just put the question part in the chat. All right, a lot of amazing stuff. So I just wanted to take a moment here before we get into the Q&A. Doc, thank you so much. I'm so excited about the future with this. And a lot of people are asking how much and how do I get it and all that. So how do you get it? The person who invited you to watch this presentation will send you a link on how to order. There's options on how to order. You can get a single mist for $80. If you sign up for our Smart Ship, which is like a monthly auto ship program, you save 5% off that. You can get a 2-pack for $150. You can save 10 to 20% on Smart Ship. It's 20% starting with your third order. So that's only 120 or 60 bucks each. That is such an amazing price considering what it normally takes for a month's supply of mangosteen. It's just, I'm really excited about it and what the results people are getting. So you can do that. They also have larger packs. You can get the price down to less than $60 a unit, but the recommended retail price is $100. Right now we have a pack and it's only until Sunday night. So I might edit this part out of the video since it's time sensitive, but Sunday night, this deal will be gone. A 7-pack for $399.97. That gets you down to $57 a unit. And if you're thinking about it from a personal standpoint, you got several months supply for you and a whole family. But if you're thinking about it for the business, we usually recommend keep 2 for yourself, for you and a spouse, or you and a promotion, a sampler, if you will, and find 5 friends to share the other 5 products with. If you sold them all for $100 each, you're paying for your pack and you're already profitable.
Collie, let me say one thing about this that is important. One of the tests that I asked the company to do, which they did do, and which surprised them and surprised me, was a test that is directly relevant to shelf life. In other words, how stable is this product? And the stability for it came in at probably double what I expected. So when you're buying larger quantities of them, because there happens to be a price benefit at the present time, know that this is going to retain its power and its potency over time very, very well.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Great information. So $400 basically. If you sell 5 of them for $100 each, you're getting $500 back. That's going to cover your tax and your shipping and put some extra money in your pocket. But then when your friends start to get experiences themselves and they have stories and you invite them to learn more about this product, they may very well want to get a pack as well. Right now, that pack has a $100 commission if you come in with a pack and share the pack. If you're brand new on this call tonight, take a leap of faith. You get a 60-day money-back guarantee. And this is crazy because I've been with a lot of companies with a 30-day money-back guarantee, but you have to pay for the shipping. This is taxes. This company has a 60-day money-back guarantee, and they even will pay the taxes and shipping. It is zero out of your pocket if you don't love the product. So take a leap of faith, get the product, share it with some friends, let them have the opportunity to take advantage of this very special time-sensitive pack. Now, next week when you come on, we're going to tell you about the new packs because they'll be launched on Monday. This was just a promotional. This product was pre-launched in January, was launched in the US in February. Pre-launches in Europe, the UK, and Mexico next week, a week from tonight. So this is a brand new thing, and this is a brand new special pack offer. So make sure you take advantage of it if you're thinking about that. So with that, I wanted to make sure I had everything. Oh, and if you'd like to learn a little bit more about how to get your products paid for, well, retailing 5 of them for $100 each is one way. There's other ways. If you share packs or xanthamus with other people, you get paid word of mouth referral bonuses. I don't want to go into all the details of the money, but if you want to know, please ask the person that sent you this presentation to send you the opportunity presentation, to show you the compensation plan and show you not only can you get your products paid for every single month with just a few referrals, but you could build a substantial secondary income, whether it's part-time, full-time, or bigger than your dreams time. And that's what I'm excited about because I've done that a few times in my life by bringing a powerful new botanical to market. And while this botanical is not new, it's new-ish, and it's only really been known about in at least North America for the past 21 years. but this technology is extremely new. So I'm really excited about that. All right. So with that, I'm just going to, Doc, before we get into the questions, just you saw what happened in the past with people, ordinary people who weren't even interested in the business, but they got such extraordinary results, they couldn't keep their mouth shut and they had to share it with friends. And you saw the sales and you saw the incomes and the people's lives change. And I know you're not a distributor, but I wouldn't mind you sharing a little bit about, for those people looking for a business, why this timing and this product at this particular moment would be a valuable thing to take a hard look at.
Well, I saw not simply dozens, but I'd say hundreds of people who were able to leave the way that they had been earning their living and turn towards a more health-centered activity, which they enjoyed more than what they'd been doing previously to earn their living. And like I say, not dozens, but hundreds. And some of them were living better than they ever have before in their lives, and did extremely well. And the product was brand new to the marketplace at that time. Now we have had literally thousands and, well, actually millions of people have used the Mangosteen. So it's getting a little bit better known in this country and in Europe. But this is a brand new variation that appears to be able to do things that previous products could not do quite as well. So I definitely think that anyone who uses Mangosteen in any form has got a step ahead of their neighbor. But this particular product, we're still learning about it. And the truth is, I haven't got the bad news yet. So I'm very pleased with what's happening. I know that there are folks who are threatened by what is happening, but unfortunately, that's the creative destruction that comes when something comes onto the market that does things better than it's been done before. And so we definitely need to pay attention.
Well put. I love what you said. And you know what? I counted the other day how many Mangosteen products I have. Some of them you can't get in the US. Like I got Mangosteen wine in Thailand. And I got this Mangosteen skincare that I got from the Mangosteen Resort in Thailand. And I was just looking at some of the different things that I have. And I'm not going to stop using any of those products. So there is no competitor that should be worried one little bit. This is in addition to, it's just another great way to get even more, even faster, more powerfully, more abundantly, but not instead of, right?
Right. I saw recently something that I hadn't seen before, and that was a comparison, head-to-head comparison in the literature with mangosteen vinegar and apple cider vinegar. And people obviously know, those who are interested in supplementation, about the remarkable effects of apple cider vinegar on many circumstances. It's a great sort of base product for people to use, give to their body. And it looks like the actives which are in the apple cider vinegar happen to be a little bit more potent in the mangosteen vinegar. And I didn't even know that there was such a thing as mangosteen vinegar, but there is.
All right, that is absolutely awesome. So I'm going to edit out a lot of this, and I usually edit out the Q&A at the end, except for what might be appropriate, because there's always people that have to ask something that we just don't really want to put on the video. But I've got the Q&A here, and I'm just going to go through and ask a couple of the questions. First, I'll start with the more generic things before I get into any specific things. So one question is, is there anything in this product that certain people would not be able to take, like if they had an allergy to? And it's funny because this person put mango, and so I just want to let this person know that mangosteen is no relation to the mango, so if they're allergic to the mango, it won't be a problem. And we've never heard of anyone allergic to mangosteen because it's an anti-allergenic. But is there anything in this product that anyone should be aware of?
Well, there have been in the past. I haven't heard of any with this particular product, but there have been problems in the past where individuals have had adverse reactions. Those were, in a sense, like an allergy, but it's extremely rare. And all I have ever recommended that they do, by the way, anyone who wants to know if they're allergic to it, take a sterile needle, and on the inside of your bicep where the skin has been protected from sunlight and is usually a little bit softer, clean it off with ordinary soap and water, and then poke 2 or 3 little holes, just teeny holes, and take the spray it on the gauze portion of an ordinary Band-Aid, and stick it right over the area where you've made the penetration into the skin. And what you're doing is an allergy test. That is the allergy test. If in 24 hours, when you take off the Band-Aid, there is no redness, itching, or anything else, you're perfectly fine to go forward. Now, we can never say that there are not going to be people who may have some kind of allergies, because I'm not aware of any product whatsoever, natural or otherwise, that doesn't have some people who react. However, I have never seen a serious adverse reaction to the mangosteen that fell under the rubric of allergies.
Awesome. Great response. We got one person commenting about blood work and saying that mangosteen always shows up in blood work. And we know that he's specifically talking about C-reactive protein benefits and A1C and PSA and LD, all the stuff. You had mentioned, and I really love this. So for the people who have not yet tried this product, you were talking about how they should document a few certain things, and then take the product for a while and then go back to it. Can you share that with everybody?
Yeah. When you're taking a product, ideally, you're doing it because you have something that you don't like that's happening with your body, and you'd like to be able to see a difference in that. So I gave a little questionnaire, and it's only just an idea of how to do it, but I think it's in the back office, and you can look at it. And what it asks you to do is, at a baseline, simply list the kinds of things for 2 or 3 days that you're concerned about, and score them on a scale of 1 to 5. So that 1 is going to be virtually nothing, 5 is going to be really a concern. And take a look at that before you start. And that gives you a specific idea about what you should be looking for benefits. Because what I have been doing with some of the people that I've been speaking with who have had sleep benefits, I've been asking them, have you talked to anybody else who had sleep benefits? And what happened, that was a conversation I had 2 weeks ago. And I got a call the other day from the person with whom I had the conversation. And they said, I've asked people about it. And they said, yeah, I never thought about it, but I'm sleeping better. So you see, somebody wasn't aware about the potential benefit of what their body could do with the raw materials it was getting. And if you write down what your concerns are, then you know what your baseline is, and you can take a look at that same list of elements and the severity of the concerns that you have, and see what it's like in 2 weeks, and then alternately any other time to be seeing what you're doing. It is not uncommon for people to start using a supplement, hoping for some improvement, and then miss the improvement that comes and not know about it until they stop the supplement. And then they say, oh my gosh, I am not feeling as good for whatever reason may be since I've stopped. And then they realize what it is. So starting out with a complaint list, concern list, is probably a good way to do it, so that you have specific things that you can see as differences and that you can talk about as differences. Because while we can't talk about generalizable things, that this is not to treat, this is not to diagnose, this is not to do any of those kinds of things, every individual who has an experience is entitled by the First Amendment to be able to say what they have experienced. You can't say, well, my neighbor got this or my aunt had that. That's third party reporting, and that's not permitted. But you can definitely say, I experienced this, and you're protected by law with a very basic protection that lets you have your free speech and your experience. And as long as you're telling the truth, then you're not likely to have any kind of adverse effect from that.
That is great advice. I had an interesting question last week, and there's a question here again. And this is probably coming from some of those, there's always a competitor trying to negatively instead of positively compete, which I don't understand. But one person said, we heard there's only one xanthone in there. And it was like, that would be like impossible, because they take the whole pericarp, which has how many in the pericarp. So can you kind of address, to extract only one out would be more expensive than leaving all of them in. But we heard last week it was over 50 of the numbers of nutrients in it, or the xanthones.
Well, it's interesting. When somebody says that, obviously someone said that to them. It's always interesting. That's interesting. I'm surprised at that. Where did you learn that? And you'll find out that it's not from anybody who has any knowledge about how it's being prepared, because anyone who had any knowledge about how it's being prepared wouldn't say something like that. So that is a comment that's arising from concerns that certainly are not based in fact.
So how many are there xanthones or these phytonutrients that are in the
Well, I asked the company. I went through the literature 2 weeks ago, and I looked at the majority of all of the thousands of citations for the mangosteen, and I pulled out the 10 most common xanthones that had been studied. Now, they're not all that have been studied, but they would make up probably about 80% of the literature on what had been studied. And I asked them to examine the product and be able to quantitate the presence and how much of those xanthones are in there. So while I can't answer that question right now, certainly we will very shortly be able to answer it. What I must tell you is that I've worked with lots of different companies, and generally speaking, I have very often found myself in an adversarial position with the company, because they want to say something that I don't want to be associated with. And therefore I will end up, quitting. I've done that several times in order not to be associated with exaggerations. This company has not been like that. One of the executives I speak with on virtually a daily basis, and I'm talking now about Mr. D'Arcangelo, he is so responsive to every time I call him, and if I ask him, would you mind looking up this or would you mind doing that? He immediately, he's very effective. He gets back to me in a day at most. And that's striking. And I did not have that kind of relationship with, one other company possibly, but that's rare to find a company that is so anxious to ask you, what do you need done, Doc? That's unusual.
Yes, it is. I've noticed the same thing. So I just want to kind of finalize my thought on the xanthone thing. How many xanthones are in the pericarp of the mangosteen? Minimum over 50, we know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I know there's a lot more than that in the whole fruit, but I mean, and all 10 of those major important ones that have been in all the studies. But so if you're taking the rind of the mangosteen and that's what you're buying, and then you're nano-emulsifying that, can you lose xanthones in the process, or can we pretty much say they're probably all in here?
Well, it would depend if you were using harsh um, solvents, and they're not. You might lose some if you're using high temperature, and they're not. You might lose some. But as far as, and I must preface this by saying, I am not a scientist. I'm a doctor, but I understand enough science that I can't be bamboozled. Okay. So I am not a scientist, but I'm not aware of anything that goes along with the processing that I'm looking at that is in any way likely to destroy the nutrients.
Okay, so that's a pretty good answer until we have the actual reports. Common sense answers. Okay, let's see. We've got so many other questions. Here's one. You had a book out, the 25 Mangosteen frequently asked questions. It's no longer available on Mangosteen. This would be a really good time. I could show them. I could take a quick minute to share the screen and show them, but mangosteenmd.com is back up and live, and all of that old content is being added and so much new content. I'm so excited about it. Do you want to tell us a little bit about it, or do you want me to show everybody a little bit about it?
Well, you can show them if you'd like. The thing of it about resurrecting that is that we have to be careful. The things that are in the archives of that were said and written at a time when the supervising authorities for what could be said and done had a different point of view than they do today. So some of the things which I said and that I wrote, they are there. A lot of the old things I have put there in an archive section because they're still pertinent, but know that I couldn't say them today. All right, I wouldn't be able to say them today. Nonetheless, I am doing a review of the literature, which is far more voluminous now than it ever was in the past. And I've got a section where I'm saying, what does the literature say? And so we're putting out things that are, in fact, conditions, medical conditions, and we're not saying that this is what would happen or that this should be a treatment. We're not doing that. We're simply quoting the literature and saying, what does the literature say? And in most cases, I am making sure that there is a disclaimer in there which says, this is not the kind of proof that would be required for anyone to suggest that this is an acceptable treatment either for diagnosis or for treatment of any disease whatsoever. And we don't need to do that. We talk about the body being able to correct the mistakes of what's happening in the body most times, as long as it's getting what it needs. And that's the whole idea of supplementation, giving your body what it needs in ample supplies to have it do its job the most effectively that it can.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I don't see hands up, but I could probably ask, but we're in the interest of time. I've got a few remaining questions, but I think I just cut you off. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I haven't talked about it because it makes me work, and I don't like to work very much anymore. So it means that I've got to get in and look at the literature and pull out what is there. And that's quite a job because there are literally thousands and thousands and thousands of papers, and it's a much greater job than it ever was in the past. But I'm pulling out what the literature says, at least in a nice, succinct bit with a few examples each time. What does the literature say about this? Because the scientists who are doing the studies, and by the way, an absolutely minimal amount of money for a study would be $20,000. So when you're up to 20,000 plus studies, imagine the money that has been spent on researching this product. More than 20,000 studies, each one of them minimally 20 to 30,000 hours, hundreds of hours by MDs and PhDs in doing these studies. If this were not interesting, there wouldn't be that kind of interest by the smart people.
Agreed. All right. We're going to get into some specific questions here, just a few more. I'm not going to do any testimonials today because I didn't see the hand up and now the cutoff time has happened. But here's some specific ones. Are there any evidence that xanthomas could help with eczema, and is it okay to use with children? And let's talk about all ages of children.
Well, the fact of the matter is that that's a company idea, all right? The company has got to make a policy. And I'm not going to go against the company's policy, whatever it is. This has been used primarily when we were looking at safety and concern with adults, not with children. Now, we did not have problems with children with the other preparations in the past, and I doubt that we're going to have them now. But remember, this is primarily to be used the way it's directed to be used. Now, I don't think anybody would be foolish enough to spray it in their eyes, but if they did, they'd get a real quick lesson in what you shouldn't be doing with it. You should ideally be using it exactly the way that it has been outlined, and not to be running outside the box. If you're waiting for other products, believe me, they're going to be coming. This company has learned that while they have been attached to other botanicals that have been certainly very remunerative and wonderful, they've never had their hands on anything like this. And so these are smart people. They know that there will be a demand for other products to be used in a different way than this one is being done. And it's only a question of being able to proceed at an appropriate pace with the kind of research and development that is required to be able to do that. But you're going to see, I mean, I don't think I'm making company policy. You ask the president next time that you talk to him next week. But will there be other Mangosteen products? Absolutely, there will.
Awesome. All right, I'm going to lump the remaining of these really into one thing, so I think your answer could address them all. There's somebody who says they have a customer with Hashimoto disease. Can they use this safely? Another one who is doing kidney dialysis. Can they use this safely? There's another one here that says they're going through heavy metal treatments, has treatments for metal in her body. Can she use this safely? So no matter what it is that somebody has, is there they don't know of that we cannot add xanthomas to?
Well, there are some things that doctors may be aware of for the individuals that might make it less than recommended, all right? I don't know what those things are, but the doctors do. So there's a doctor attached pretty much to everybody that's in the sound of my voice. And ask your doctor for their opinion. Now, understand that doctors are fallible, and that they don't know everything, and that particularly if their area of expertise is not in supplements, they may be as interested as you are in learning more about it. But you have to talk to your doctor, and you need to listen to what your doctor says. And I would not overrule anyone's doctor who knows their case clearly, unless they were to say something as ridiculous as, "Don't use supplements, they're dangerous." That's crazy. And I don't think many doctors would say that.
Definitely not anymore. Well, actually, that brings me up. There was another question asked earlier. I don't see it in here, but I remember now somebody texted me this earlier today. We talked about taking whole food supplements. I do remember a thing back in the day, like certain synthetic vitamins, too much of them, your body might not be happy about, but that whole food supplements you can. And of course, the question came to me today is xanthomest a whole food supplement? Is it in that category?
No, it's not. It has been manufactured, but it is a form of a food. It's a form of a food. So that, for example, when it is being sold in Europe, it is a food. It comes into Europe as a food. it is categorized as a food. And so therefore it is both a manufactured and a food. And that we can look at thousands of things in our diet and say, yes, we eat manufactured food.
What a great response. All right. Thank you so much. I think we're definitely out of time, overtime, like we always are with you, because you're so generous with your time. Appreciate everybody sticking around. There was a question in there, Mangosteen, and it's mangosteenmd.com. Somebody just typed in mangosteenmd and didn't find it. So mangosteenmd.com. And of course, there's a link to that off of lifeasitcouldbe.com, which is our team site, which has information on the business. If you want to take a look more at the product, at the pay plan, at the promotions, the 7-pack promotion ends midnight Sunday night, but then next week we'll have another promotion to talk to you all about. But this is brand new, and we're excited for you to be at the beginning of this journey with us. So thank you for your time, Doc. And we'll see you on another call.
Thanks very much. Good night, everyone.
Everyone.